This is ASMR Kewas, as you probably know, and today is time for our reading session. So I bought a new book again, but this time even in English. There is actually not much of, like, I don't know how to say it. There's like not a huge collection in the bookstores that would allow you to read like English books. So there were just like some foreign books, and I thought I wanted something different than just fantasy, because that's what I like read all the time, and I actually now have the perfect fantasy series, and I'm really thrilled about it, but it's in English and I cannot read it to you. And the reason is really simple, because it has copyright. But this book, The Little Women, Little Women, are actually not having a copyright, and it's simply because the book was written in the, I think, 19th century, so it's really old and it doesn't have copyright anymore. So I decided to actually read it for you today, so hopefully you will enjoy it. I actually saw the movie, and what was it? Yeah, TV series that they published in the last few years, and they were actually really good. It's basically about four sisters living their life, and yeah, let's just start with the chapter number 1. Playing pilgrims. Christmas won't be Christmas without any presents, grumbled Joe, lying on the rug. It's so dreadful to be poor, sighed Mag, looking down at her old dress. I don't think it's fair for some girls to have lots of pretty things and other girls nothing at all, added little Amy with an injured sniff. We've got father and mother and each other anyhow, said Beth, contentedly from her corner. The four young faces on which the firelight shone brightened at the cheerful words, but darkened again as Joe said sadly, "We haven't got father, and shall not have him for a long time." She didn't say, "Perhaps never," but each silently added it, thinking of father far away, where the fighting was. Nobody spoke for a minute. Then Meg said in an altered tone, "You know the reason Mother proposed not having any presents this Christmas was because it's going to be a hard winter for everyone, and she thinks we ought not to spend money for pleasure, but when our men are suffering so in the army. We can't do much, but we can make our little sacrifices and ought to do it gladly. But I'm afraid I don't." And Meg shook her head as she thought regretfully of all pretty things she wanted. "But I don't think the little we should spend do any good. We've got each $1, and the army wouldn't be much helped by our giving that. I agree not to expect anything from Mother or you, but I do want to buy Undine and Sintram for myself. I wanted it so long," said Joe, who was a bookworm. "I plan to spend mine in music," said Beth, with a little sigh, which no one heard but the hearth brush and kettle holder. "I shall get a nice box of Faber's drawing pencils. I really need them, said Amy decidedly. Mother didn't say anything about our money, and she won't wish us to give up everything. Let's each buy what we want and have a little fun. I'm sure we grew up hard enough to earn it, cried Jo, examining the heels of her boots in a gentlemanly manner. I know I do, teaching those dreadful children nearly all day when I'm longing to enjoy myself at home, began Meg in the complaining tone again. You don't have half such a hard time as I do, said Jo. How would you like to be shut up for hours with nervous, fuzzy old lady who keeps you trotting, is never satisfied, and worries you till you're ready to fly out of the window or box her ears? It's not to fret, but I do think washing dishes and keeping things tidy is the worst work in the world. It makes me cross and my hands get so stiff I can't practice good a bit. And Beth looked at her rough hands with a sigh that anyone could hear at that time. I don't believe any of you suffer as I do, cried Amy, for you don't have to go to school with impertinent girls who plague you if you don't know your lessons, and laugh at your dresses, and label your father if he isn't rich, and insult you when your nose isn't nice. If you mean libel, I'd say so, and not talk about labels, as if Pa was a big bottle, advised Jo, laughing. I know what I mean, and you needn't to be satirical about it. It's proper to use good words and improve your vocabulary, returned Amy with dignity. Don't peck at one another, children. Don't you wish we had the money Papa lost when we were little, Jo? Dear me, how happy and good we'd be if we had no worries, said Meg, who could remember better times. You said the other day you thought we were a deal happier than the King children, for they were fighting and fretting all the time in spite of their money. So I did, Beth. Well, I guess we are, for though we do have to work, we make fun for ourselves, and we are a pretty jolly set, as Jo would say. Jo does use such slang words, observed Amy, with a reproving look at the long figure stretched on the rug. Jo immediately sat up, put her hands in her apron pockets, and began to whistle. Don't, Jo, it's so boyish. That's why I do it. I detest rude, unladylike girls. I hate affected, niminy-biminy chits. Birds in their little nests agree, sang Beth, the peacemaker, with such a funny face that both sharp voices softened to a laugh, and the pecking ended for that time. Really, girls, you are both to be blamed, said Meg, beginning to lecture in her elder sisterly fashion. You're old enough to leave off boyish tricks and behave better, Josephine. It didn't matter so much when you were a little girl, but now you are so tall and turn up your hair, you should remember that you are a young lady. I ain't, and if turning up my hair makes me one, I'll wear it in two tails till I'm 20, cried Jo, pulling off her net and shaking down a chestnut mane. I hate to think I've got to grow up and be Miss March and wear long gowns and look as prim as a China Esther. It's bad enough to be a girl anyway when I like boys' games. Poor Joe, it's too bad, but it can't be helped, so you must try to be contented with making your name boyish and playing brother to us girls, said Beth, stroking the rough hat at her knee with a hand that all the dishwashing and dusting in the world could not make ungentle in its touch. As for you, Amy, continued Mag, you are altogether too particular and prim. Your airs are funny now, but you'll grow up an affected little goose if you don't care. If you don't take care, I like your nice manners and refined ways of speaking when you don't try to be elegant, but your absurd words are as bad as Joe's slang. If Joe is a tomboy and Amy a goose, what am I, please? Asked Beth, ready to share the lecture. You're a dear and nothing else, answered Mag warmly, and no one contradicted her, for the mouse was the pet of the family. As young readers like to know how people look, we will take this moment to give them a little sketch of the four sisters who sat knitting away in the twilight while the December snow fell quietly without, and the fire crackled cheerfully within. It was a comfortable old room, though the carpet was faded and the furniture very plain, for a good picture or two hung on the walls, books filled with the recesses, chrysanthemums and Christmas roses bloomed in the windows, and a pleasant atmosphere of home peace pervaded it. Margaret, the eldest of four, was 16 and very pretty, being plump and fair with large eyes, plenty of soft brown hair, a sweet mouth, and white hands of which she was rather vain. 15-year-old Joe was very tall, thin, and brown, and reminded one of a colt, for she never seemed to know what to do with her long limbs, which were very much in her way. She had a decided mouth and comical nose and sharp grey eyes, which appeared to see everything and were by turns fierce, funny, and thoughtful. Her long, thick hair was her one beauty, but it was usually bundled into net to be out of her way. Round shoulders had Joe, big hands and feet, a flyaway look to her clothes, and the uncomfortable appearance of a girl who was rapidly shooting up into a woman and didn't like it. Elizabeth, or Beth, as everyone called her, was a rosy, smooth-haired, bright-eyed girl of 13 with a shy manner, a timid voice, and a peaceful expression, which was seldom disturbed. Her father called her Little Tranquility, and the name suited her excellently, for she seemed to live in a happy world of her own, only venturing out to meet the few whom she trusted and loved. I'm just going to take a break to drink some water. Amy, though the youngest, was the most important person, in her own opinion at least. A regular snow maiden with blue eyes and yellow hair curling on her shoulders, pale and slender, and always carrying herself like a young lady, mindful of her manners. What the characters of the four sisters were, we will leave to be found out. The clock struck 6, and having swept up the hearth, I don't know, Beth put a pair of slippers down to warm. Somehow the sight of the old shoes had a good effect upon the girls, for Mother was coming, and everyone brightened to welcome her. Meg stopped lecturing and lit the lamp. Amy got out of the easy chair without being asked, and Jo forgot how tired she was as she sat up to hold the slippers nearer to the blaze. They are quite worn out. Marmee must have a new pair. I thought I'd get her some with my dollar, said Beth. No, I shall, cried Amy. I'm the oldest, began Meg, but Jo cut it with a decided, I'm the man of the family now Papa is away, and I shall provide the slippers, for he told me to take special care of Mother while he was gone. I'll tell you what we will do, said Beth. Let's each get something for Christmas for her and not get anything for ourselves. That's like you, dear. What will we get? Exclaimed Jo. Everyone thought soberly for a minute. Then Meg announced, as if the idea was suggested by the sight of her own pretty hands, I shall give her a nice pair of gloves. Army shoes, best to be had, cried Jo. Some handkerchiefs all hemmed, said Beth. I'll get a little bottle of cologne. She likes it, and it won't cost much, and so I'll have some left to buy something for me, added Amy. How we will give the things, asked Meg. Put them on the table and bring her in and see her open the bundles. Don't you remember how we used to do this on our birthdays? Answered Jo. I used to be so frightened when it was my turn to sit in the big chair with the crown on and see you all come marching around to give the presents with a kiss. I liked the things and the kisses, but it was dreadful to have you sit looking at me. I opened the bundles, said Beth, who was toasting her face and the bread for tea and the same time. Let Marmee think we are getting things for ourselves and then surprise her. We must go shopping tomorrow afternoon, Meg, and there's a lot to do about the play for Christmas night, said Jo, marching up down with her hands behind her back and her nose in the air. I don't mean to act any more after this. I'm getting too old for such things, observed Meg, who was as much a child as ever about dressing up frolics. You won't stop, I know, as long as you can trail around and in a white gown with your hair down and wear gold paper jewelry. You are the best actress we've got, and there will be an end of everything if you quit the boards, said Jo. We ought to rehearse tonight. Come here, Amy, and do the fainting scene, for you are stiff as a poker in that. I can't help it. I never saw anyone faint, and I don't choose to make myself all black and blue, tumbling flat as you do. If I can go down easily, I'll drop. If I can't, I shall fall into a chair and be graceful. I don't care if you go. Ah, does come at me with a pistol, returned Amy, who was not gifted with dramatic power, but was chosen because she was small enough to be borne out shrieking by the hero of the piece. Do it this way. Clasp your hands so and stagger across the room, crying frantically, Roderico, save me, save me. And away went Jo with the melodramatic scream, which was truly thrilling. Amy followed, but she poked her hands out stiffly before her and jerked herself along as if she went by machinery, and her ow was more suggestive of pins being run into her than of fear and anguish. Joe gave a despairing groan and Meg laughed outright, while Beth let her bread burn as she watched the fun with interest. It's no use, do the best you can when the time comes, and if the audience shout, don't blame me, come on, Meg. Then things went smoothly, for Dom Pedro defied the world in a speech of 2 pages without a single break. Hagar, the witch, chanted an awful incantation over her kettleful of simmering toads with weird effect. Rodrigo rent his chains asunder manfully, and Hugo died in agonies of remorse and arsenic with a wild ha-ha. It's the best we've had yet, said Mac, as the dead villain sat up and rubbed his elbows. I don't see how you can write and act such splendid things, Joe. You're a regular Shakespeare, exclaimed Beth, who firmly believed that her sisters were gifted with wonderful genius in all things. Not quite, replied Joe modestly. I do think The Witch's Curse and operatic tragedy is rather a nice thing, but I'd like to try Macbeth if we only had a trapdoor for Banquo. I always wanted to do the killing part. Is that a dagger that I see before me? Muttered Jo, rolling her eyes and clutching at the air, as she had seen a famous tragedian too. Okay, so as you can see, my voice is really hurting at this moment since I'm shooting for 1 hour and a half straight, and I've been doing the talking most of the time, so I'm just going to stop there. Hopefully you did enjoy this Little Women reading. If you like it, I can actually continue another time and just continue with the next part that there is supposed to be. Okay, so my voice really changed. It just sounds so high and so on. Well, okay, so the pitch was high, okay, and this is basically it. Thank you for supporting me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Just let me know in the comments. I'm really interested to see if you like reading out the books, because I read a lot. I read a lot, and I would be willing to read to you if that's something that helps you to fall asleep. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next time.